Thanks so much for being with us here on Atlanta News First Plus. I just want to let you know that we are watching live here as we are awaiting a press conference to begin really at any moment now from the Secretary of State on this primary election day here in Georgia. And actually, that is one of our photojournalists, Porfirio, there, setting up. But what I want to do now is talk to you a little bit about today, and just kind of to get folks ready. And again, it's the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, expected to hold a press conference really at any moment now. Obviously, voters heading to the polls for the Georgia primaries today. And throughout the day, he's going to be giving updates about how smoothly or maybe not smoothly things are running. And we'll share if there are any issues, of course. So we're going to keep following that. We're going to be streaming this throughout the day here on Atlanta News First Plus, atlantanewsfirst.com. And, of course, our app, our free mobile news app. But even though, there aren't any statewide races, and these are local races, they are the ones that really could help shape the everyday lives of people in our communities. So if you want to say, this is definitely your opportunity. So remember, this is not like early voting. If you want to vote, you must show up at your assigned precinct. If you're not sure where exactly that is, you don't have to waste your time. You can go to our website, atlantanewsfirst.com, and we can show you how to find out where to go. And, sometimes that does change from year to year. So definitely something worth checking out. I know sometimes people show up at the wrong spots because they could vote there last year. They thought they could do it this year, and it isn't always the case. So check out atlantanewsfirst.com. And there you can find out how, where you're supposed to go to vote. You can also view your sample ballot, which is going to save you some time. And there you can pick a Republican ballot or a Democratic ballot, and you can pick a nonpartisan ballot as well. But I do want to let you know that nonpartisan ballots will only include judges, which are nonpartisan races. If you requested an absentee ballot, you may be worried a little bit with the issues we've been having with the post office, the U.S. Postal Service lately being slow, and maybe you're worried that it won't arrive by tonight. Well, we did ask Gabrielle Sterling from the Georgia Secretary of State's office about just that. Let's listen.
So we're about 12% return to we're about 65% return now. So one of the main things I want to make sure of, if you can go to my voter page at mvp.sos.ga.gov and see if your ballot has been accepted. If it has not been accepted, make a plan to go to your polling location and vote on Tuesday.
Okay, so again, if your ballot has not been accepted, make a plan to go to a polling location. That is what he just said. And if your absentee ballot does come in later, there's no worries because it will actually be voided if you already voted in person. So there's really no downside to voting in person. Even if you did your early voting, you want to make sure you have some concerns that it won't be processed in time, you can vote in person until 7 p.m. tonight, okay? Polls are open until 7 p.m. tonight. And again, atlantanewsfirst.com has the information that you need to know, including a sample ballot, including where you need to go. And today's primary is going to determine who is on the November ballot for the U.S. House of Representatives and Georgia's legislature, among other things. Atlanta News First chief investigator Brendan Keefe has more on what you need to actually bring to the polls.
Let's start the clock. Your vote counts, so let's count down the things you can't bring to the polls and the things you have to bring to vote. First, identification. It's required by law. But did you know it doesn't have to be a driver's license or a state ID? You can vote with a passport, any government ID, or even a student identification card from any public college or university in Georgia. Can I bring water or food for waiting in line? Yes, if it's for you and only you. No one can offer food or water to people waiting in line to vote within 150 feet of a polling place. But it's legal to feed and water yourself, though some libraries and other polling locations don't want food inside. Can you bring your kids or grandkids with you when you vote? Absolutely. Kids are welcome to come along to watch. And it's not a bad idea to teach them the importance of democracy by showing them how to vote. Counting down to the election, I'm Brendan Keith. Atlanta News First investigates. Let's start the clock.
All right, so like Brendan said, you've got to bring your ID among other things. But again, if you're a little confused about where you're supposed to go for, where your polling location is for your precinct, and again, I have to emphasize, you must show up at your assigned precinct. So if you're confused about that, you can go to our website, atlantanewsfirst.com, and then you can essentially determine that, where you're supposed to go. Again, you must show up at your assigned precinct. And on our website as well, we also have the sample ballot that you can view, and that is going to save you some time as well. And again, let me just show you this live look here for a moment, because we are awaiting a press conference from the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, at any moment now to just address how voting is going right now. And hopefully it's going smoothly, but we're going to find out pretty soon here. In the meantime, let's take a moment and turn to your election day forecast. Here is First Alert meteorologist Rodney Harris. Hey, Rodney, come over here to my microphone.
Good morning to you, Joy. I hope everybody's off to a good start to their Tuesday. Really nice weather here across Metro Atlanta this week. In fact, the headline for us this week, Joy, it's just the heat. It'll be hot and partly cloudy just about every day here in Metro Atlanta, and you are seeing that today, right now, with our forecast highs. That is for this afternoon. So yesterday's high was 85 degrees. We're back up to 85 again today under mostly sunny skies. So we hope you get out there and enjoy it, do whatever it is you need to do. But if you're outdoors, you will be in great shape. So here is the setup for this week, Joy. We have high pressure in the upper levels of the atmosphere that's building toward the north. This is a very typical summertime pattern for us here across the southeast. This is one of the reasons why we warm up over the summer. So as we get this initial high moving in, it won't be that strong, but strong enough to give us the warmest temperatures we've seen all year in Metro Atlanta. So when we show you the 7-day forecast, you'll notice those temperatures continue to rise. 85 today, 87 Wednesday, 87 Thursday, 88 by Friday. The hottest temperature so far this year in Atlanta has been 87. We hit that 3 times this month, so 88 will be the new hottest day of the year. And we'll get pretty close to 90 over the weekend. So that's story number 1. It's just hot this week. And then story number 2 will be what will be a return of rain chances, unfortunately, as we go into the holiday weekend. Right now, the rain chance is only at about 20-30%. But that could change as we get closer to the weekend. It's not impossible to have some first alert weather days, so we do want you to focus on the weekend, because even though the rain chances are low now, they may go up. And here's the setup for this upcoming weekend. We basically have a weak cool front that'll be moving south. This time of year, when we start to get closer to summer, it's harder for these cool fronts to make it in, so it's going to take its time. Initially, as this cool front moves in, there's only like a 20% chance of an isolated storm, mainly in the mountains on Thursday. That chance will increase a little bit more on Friday, and then a little bit more this weekend as that front gets closer and closer. So again, right now the coverage of rain is only at about anywhere from 20 to 40% this weekend, but it's possible that those rain chances may go up. Like last weekend, Joy, where it was a nice weekend, but we did have some pop-up storms. We're basically forecasting that again this weekend. So that's the story. Dry and hot this week, and then as you get prepared for the Memorial Day weekend, you'll have to dodge some storms out there. And we'll certainly keep you up to date on that weekend forecast. We know it's important for you in the First Alert Weather app, and we'll also have an updated look at your forecast on Atlanta News First at noon. That's a look at your weather, Joy. For now, back to you.
Well, thank you so much, Rodney. So appreciate it. And I think what Rodney is saying is there's really no excuse not to get out to the polls today because the weather's pretty nice for it. Okay, just showing you this live look here. And again, we are awaiting a live press conference at any moment now from the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger. And he's said that he's going to update the world, the state of Georgia, voters and us news stations and everybody else throughout the day, and just kind of give you some latest news on how voting is going and voter turnout, important information about polling locations. Some 65,000 voters have already cast absentee ballots. But because of delay issues at some of the post offices, officials are recommending that you check on the Secretary of State's ballot tracker page to make sure that your absentee ballot got where it's supposed to go. you know, we've been covering the stories extensively, the issues extensively with the U.S. Postal Service and the grilling of U.S. Postmaster Louis DeJoy by lawmakers. So it's definitely a concern this year. Secretary Raffensperger has previously said his team was preparing for as many as 5 to 6 million voters in the upcoming general election.
Disclose the location of this facility. See you in about 5 minutes.
And polls are going to remain open until 7 p.m. tonight. We're going to continue to bring you live coverage throughout the day. But again, as we're waiting for this press conference to begin, you know, and we're going to be streaming this live and doing so throughout the day, giving you these live updates. Just kind of, again, recapping some of the basics here, but there aren't statewide races, but we're looking at local races. This is what we're following, are the ones that help shape everyday life in our communities, right? So if you want to say, absolutely, it is your opportunity. Today is your opportunity. But just an emphasis again that this is not like early voting. You do need to show up at your assigned precinct. It's not like early voting. You have to show up at your assigned precinct if you want to vote today. And I know that sometimes there's confusion about where that is, and sometimes it changes from year to year. So just because you voted in a certain location last year doesn't mean you can show up to the same place again this year. Sometimes it changes. So on our website, atlantanewsfirst.com, we can direct you on how to find out where you're supposed to go to vote at your assigned precinct. There you can also view your sample ballot, and that, of course, is going to save you some time and make things a little more efficient when you do get to your polling location. You can pick a nonpartisan ballot. You can pick a Republican ballot. You can pick a Democrat ballot. I will point out, if you pick a nonpartisan ballot, that will only include judges, because those are nonpartisan races, but that will only include judges. If you request an absentee ballot, if you did request an absentee ballot, you might be a little bit worried. Again, we've been covering the issues with the U.S. Postal Service lately. You might be worried that it won't arrive by tonight, and that is absolutely a valid concern. And that is why the Secretary of State's ballot tracker, Secretary of State's office is recommending using your ballot tracker page, using their ballot tracker page to make sure that your absentee ballot got to where it needs to go. And we talked to Gabrielle Sterling from the Georgia Secretary of State's office about this. Here's what he said.
So we're about 12% return to where we're about 65% return now. So one of the main things I want to make sure of, if you can go to my voter page at mvp.sos.ga.gov and see if your ballot has been accepted. If it has not been accepted, make a plan to go to your polling location and vote on Tuesday.
So you heard that. If it has not been accepted, if your
so
ballot...
we're about 12% return to where we're about 65% return now.
I apologize, double playing that. But again, if you have some concerns, you should go to your polling location, because if your absentee ballot does come in later, that's all right, because it will then be voided if you went ahead and voted in person today. So there's really no downside for you to go ahead and vote in person today. So if you did the absentee ballot, but now you're wondering, did it actually arrive and get processed? Will it be processed in time? Well, there's no harm in going to your polling location. And the polls are open until 7 o'clock tonight. So the day is still young. You have time. Today's primary, again, it's going to determine who is on the November ballot for the House of Representatives and Georgia's legislature, among other things. We talked about judges. Well, Atlanta News First Chief Investigator Brendan Keefe has more on what you need to bring to the polls with you.
Let's start the clock. Your vote counts, so let's count down the things you can't bring to the polls and the things you have to bring to vote. First, identification. It's required by law. But did you know it doesn't have to be a driver's license or a state ID? You can vote with a passport, any government ID, or even a student identification card from any public college or university in Georgia. Can I bring water or food for waiting in line? Yes, if it's for you and only you. No one can offer food or water to people waiting in line to vote within 150 feet of a polling place. But it's legal to feed and water yourself, though some libraries and other polling locations don't want food inside. Can you bring your kids or grandkids with you when you vote? Absolutely. Kids are welcome to come along to watch. And it's not a bad idea to teach them the importance of democracy by showing them how to vote. Counting down to the election, I'm Brendan Keefe. Atlanta News First investigates.
Okay, so just now showing you this live look. Once again, we are expecting Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to give an update on how voting is going today on this primary election day here in the state of Georgia. Again, go to atlantanewsfirst.com if you need some help figuring out where you're supposed to vote, because you do need to go to your assigned precinct. And again, you can also view a sample ballot there as well. So I'm going to leave this shot up, and you're going to be able to watch live as soon as Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger takes the podium and gives you an update.
I moved it around to the front because the Kenyans were bumping me yesterday. So I had to get it out of the way. Dude, they were hilarious. They were like so aggressive. I was like, did I move to Los Angeles? Like, what happened?
I think they're coming in now. My mic's working.
Also, real quick, remember that where we are is off the record for everything right now for security purposes. So, go ahead, Mr. Secretary.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I think it's been a few months for some of you. I think it was the presidential primary. And just like the presidential primary, things are running smooth today. What we're seeing right now is a wait time, for those lines are right now under, 2 minutes, about 1 minute. So we're not seeing any lines. We have the new electronic poll pads that we've been talking about for, really about a couple of years now. But it just allows everyone to really get their, cards so that they can go and vote very quickly. What we've seen, right now, based on, kind of guesstimating, there's probably been 100,000 people that have voted already today. But that's just a guesstimate, but just looks like it's smooth, very regular. The voting turnout that we've seen so far is a little bit stronger than the presidential primary. So everyone's out there exercising their vote. But plenty of time left, and we'll just see where it all goes from here. I'm really pleased with the ground game and what the work of the counties to be prepared for this, along with our team. Does anyone have any questions, since we're starting off so smooth? So I see someone from, is it the Atlanta Journal-Constitution?
That's right. No election is flawless. Have you seen any issues crop up today across the state?
Virtually none. Nothing I really can report on, so it's been very, very quiet. So we're really pleased with that. The counties understand how important this year is, how highly scrutinized, that this really is probably the focal center for elections in America. But Georgia does lead in elections. We've shown that we have the cleanest voter rolls. We have the shortest lines because we put it into state law, but we've worked with the counties to make sure that the counties have the resources to keep those lines short. We understand how important it is. The only issue we've had is obviously return of the absentee ballots, and that's really due to the Postal Service. So if that's where you are today as a voter, come out and vote in person. And the counties, they'll take care of you at the precinct level so you can cast your ballot today.
How is turnout compared to past elections? I know typically voter turnout can be low when we're looking at this period of election.
Yeah, the challenge that we have is that 2020 was that outlier. So if you compare it to 2022, that was a gubernatorial year, not a presidential year. So you'd almost have to go back, looking at where were we in 2016 and 2018 and try and see where we are. Right now, we are ahead of the PPP. We know that much. And we're probably tracking in that range of where we were for 2022. But at the end of the day, it depends who shows up today. No one has an excuse not to vote today if you haven't voted yet. First of all, we've got just a tremendous day, beautiful weather, no rain. So hopefully people do, heed our, strong encouragement to come out to vote.
Do you know of any precincts that had to open late because of a technical issue or anything like that?
Hadn't heard about that yet.
I still hear concerns about 2020 and allegations that about what happened then. Some of them, there were some problems, but also most of the conspiracy theories have not been borne out. What do you say to people here, 2024, we're still dealing with issues from almost 4 years ago? How do you explain that our elections do have accuracy?
I think every person in Georgia needs to understand, no matter how you vote, absentee, early, or election day, we have photo ID for that. That has elevated security, but also, I believe, elevated voters' confidence in the process. We also, with SB 202, the Election Integrity Act of 2021, require on election day that all lines are shorter than 1 hour. And right now, the line time is 1 minute. So counties have really heeded that message, done a great job. And we've worked with them, so they could structure the precinct side with the number of equipment that they have to make sure they have the throughput, so that works. And then we're having audits. We can audit any single race, and we've also put into law to do additional audits. Well, people need to understand what happened in 2020 more than anything else is there was about over 30,000 Republican voters that voted on the general primary day and then did not come back and voted all in the fall. And so that's a campaign issue, and they need to make sure you turn out your voters. But at the end of the day, we have a safe, secure, accurate elections here in Georgia. We have the cleanest voter list in the entire country because we partner with Department of Driver Services. So if you actually get a driver's license in any other state in the country, we will be notified about that. And we then can reach out to you and say, well, we just know you got a driver's license in Texas, North Carolina, North Dakota. Did you move there? And they can come back and let us know that. Then we're also a member of ERIC, the Electronic Registration Information Center. And then we actually then get information directly from the federal government on, the death records. So we make sure that we have very clean, accurate voter rolls. We've actually, I'm the first Secretary of State to do a 100% citizenship verification to make sure that only American citizens are registered to vote. Only American citizens are voting here in Georgia. And so we've proven that. And so we fight every day. Our team, we have a strong team. We're fighting every day to let people know we have fair, honest, and accurate elections.
I know there was some concern because of redistricting that it might lead to some confusion at the polls, but it sounds like we're not seeing that.
Not really. I know that Macon Bibb put out, the election director put out a little, warning to everyone, check, that you're actually in the right precinct. I actually got my card yesterday from Fulton County. I already had voted early, telling me that I voted at Johns Creek High School. But those are the type of things, what district, what congressional district. Oh, I was in this district before, so I started in the 6th. Then I was in the 7th, so I'm back in the 7th. But it's kind of like I've bounced around in my own district, and people have in other parts of the state. So checking that information, and we just really want to be very proactive, and the counties have really worked hard on being proactive on that. That's a good question. Thank you.
All right.
Well, we'll be back. Probably we'll do a little noontime briefing, and then I'll be back at 4. We'll have some more information. So it looks like it's going to be relatively quiet. Can't make any predictions, but it's starting off to be very uniform and quiet throughout the entire state of Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you. Just so you know, we're doing call-arounds to make sure that no one get open late. That was starting around 10 o'clock with our staff, so it takes about an hour to get through all of it. No one's proactively told us of anything. There was a gas leak in Cobb
didn't affect anything. So we keep up with everything, whether it's going to affect it or not, just in case.
So the next presser will be what time?
We don't know yet.
That's 12 minutes.
12 is after lunch.
Yeah. We'll be back here. I'm perfectly fine with it. I'm sorry. Not being specific.
Better turn your light off.
Please do.